So I'm packing a lot in this show, and so I only have a few minutes with Mary Fiorito, but I wanted to bring her in. She is the Cardinal George Fellow to the Ethics and Public Policy Center, and this kind of like came up all of a sudden, about a 4-minute video with a number of bishops from around the United States, essentially asking for amnesty, asking for illegals, all of them that have come in here illegally, to be able to stay. And it really ticked off a lot of people. Father James Altman wrote on his X account, "Thank you, useless fraud bishops of the United States. Thank you for once again proving what an antichrist brood of vipers you are. You literally cannot police your own pervert sex abuse and have paid out parishioners' donations to the tune of billions and billions and billions, which says nothing of your souls you destroyed, yet not one of you served time in jail for your heinous crimes. You failed to publicly condemn the baby butchering Democrats, and you stayed silent when Bergoglio personally overruled the court in Rome. You stayed silent when the apostate Bergoglio, which is Pope Francis, worshipped the Pachamama with the walls of St. Peter's and Vatican. You said nothing when Democrats overran all semblance of national sovereignty. You materially cooperated in illegal invasion and trafficking of unaccompanied minors receiving a fortune in taxpayer money." And they went on and on and on. So he went on and on and on. And this is such a really hot topic. I mean, you even had Bishop Paprocki in that slew of bishops say something. I really wanted to get Mary's thoughts on the bishops speaking out in this way and what we should all think here as Christians.
Well, Jeannie, thank you so much for having me. I'm very grateful for the opportunity. And, you know, as you mentioned, I'm the Cardinal George Fellow at the Ethics and Public Policy Center. But prior to that, I spent 28 years working for the Archdiocese of Chicago, including working directly for the cardinal who was there just before Cardinal Supich, our current cardinal, and that was Francis Cardinal George. And I'm happy to carry on, you know, his name and his legacy in my work at EPPC. But, you know, these are one of these statements, Jeannie, where, you know, having worked for a cardinal for so many years, I can tell you that whenever a statement like this is going to go out, and in fact, this is like I think they only do this maybe once a decade, where they would put out a statement of this magnitude and like a communal joint public statement. The last time that happened was when the Obamacare proposals going through would have forced, you know, Catholic entities, but also other, you know, Christian companies to cover abortifacients and contraceptive devices and things like that in their insurance policies, which religious liberty laws had always protected us from in the past. So with these kind of statements, the first thing I can tell you, and that I hope your listeners, both Catholic and non-Catholic alike, will go to the USCCB, that's the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, USCCB, and read the statement in its totality before you make a judgment about it. Because you know, again, I know just having worked for the church for many years, every single word is weighed, every single word. And, you know, for those who, you know, are very upset about it, first of all, I think, you know, the one of the key things to recognize, and this is the adjective where I think this entire statement comes down to it, is what the bishops called indiscriminate mass deportation, indiscriminate. So what that, in its contrary, right, that would say necessarily that discriminate mass deportation is actually okay. So discriminate, which is what President Trump and the Trump administration and everybody within the Department of Homeland Security has been saying they wanted to do all along, was to do targeted, you know, discriminate, interventions in different cities to get the guys who were in Tren de Aragua, to get the MS-13 guys, to get those who were trafficking human beings. But, you know, as you know, you and I both living in the Chicago area, we have such voices of reason, like Alderman Ray Lopez, who was saying even before ICE arrived, what the city needs to do and what the state needs to do is to cooperate with ICE law enforcement so that these, you know, incisions, as they will be targeted and specific and will be primarily focused on criminals. And if we don't cooperate with them, and we just have to send ICE out into the neighborhoods because we won't let them go into for example, the Cook County jail system to get, you know, men who are awaiting trial who have committed crimes, then you risk all of the other people that seem to be the focus of all the major news stories that we're seeing, right? So the the Mexican grandmother who's been selling tacos, from a van in Pilsen for 20 years is just indiscriminately picked up. Well, that's what happens when we don't have local government and national government working together to make sure that this is what we're focusing on primarily. It is the gang members, it is the traffickers, it is the drug dealers, it is the cartels.
Mary, let me stop you there for a minute because I did listen to the video. It's like over 4 minutes long. And at first I thought, okay, I can understand where there's coming in from a humanitarian perspective. It seemed all sort of like, yeah, you know what? We want legal immigration. That's kind of what the bent was. Towards the end, though, it really did feel like they wanted nobody deported and, except like the worst of the worst criminals, which is not like Ray Lopez. He was just on and he's like, look, you have to have been here like 10 years. Otherwise you are leaving. You do need to leave because you came here illegally. The also thing is like they can use all their fancy words and they can like throw around the indiscriminate stuff, but they were not specific because they don't want to be specific about examples. And that is the problem. So people are going to misinterpret or read into anything that they say. And they allowed that to happen because they wanted that to happen, in my opinion. They didn't want to be specific, as Ray Lopez is in his letter to Donald Trump.
Yeah, Jeannie, I can't speak to any motivations because I was not at all a part of putting together this statement. You can tell just from reading it, it was likely a number of different people who probably had their hands in it. And, I do think it's important for people to know, though, that for many, many years, the U.S. Catholic bishops received funding from the government to relocate people who were the victims of, very profound assaults on human dignity. But the people that the Bishops' Conference were supporting through the grants from the government were all people who had been legally vetted.
Yes.
And so that was
before though. And I'm sorry, I did not leave enough time for this interview. We're going to have you back. I only got 20 seconds left. But that was before. They now have been participating in the movement of illegals into the country. For sure.
Yeah, I think we could probably break that down a little more, but I'm happy to come back and talk about that again.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Jeannie.
Thanks a lot, Mary Fiorito. Really appreciate you being on. We'll be right back.